Ryan and I met on an online dating site. He seemed like a good catch. After 4 months, I began to see a different side of Ryan.
You're just completely disregarding a point that I was making.
Ryan's a narcissist. He is very full of himself. I always say it's the Ryan show.
I gotta admit that I enjoy the drama we have.
I feel he's the master manipulator. He will twist what I say.
What? What are you talking about?
When I try to talk with Ryan, he doesn't listen.
Danielle can be needy.
Ryan's controlling in all aspects of his life. Ryan definitely knows how to push my buttons. He said that I was fat and that I was not attractive as some other people. When he makes comments about my weight, it makes me feel more insecure. Ryan has called me fat while I've been pregnant. One time we were having a conversation and he threw in that his weight max limit was 130 pounds. At the time I was 133 pounds. I felt like I was not good enough. I'm concerned that Ryan is currently cheating on me. Ryan has admitted that he cheated on every other girlfriend he's been with. He has compared me to other girls and their sex lives. It is very offensive. I do fear if Ryan doesn't change that I may be forced to make a decision to leave him.
My message to Danielle is to stay with me or leave me, but don't expect me to change.
What do you want me to do, scream at you?
I understand that Danielle wants a more compassionate person, but that's just not who I am.
I get in the moment and I get carried away.
I'm like a train moving 100 miles an hour and Danielle's like a train going 40. I don't like to bend, I like to do my own thing. Once I feel I've reached a point in the argument where I know I can't win, I would rather just destroy everything around me. If Danielle's suffering from the decisions that I've made, then so be it. I've never made it easy for any of my girlfriends. They just need to like the values that I stand for. When I first met Danielle, I told her I was attracted to girls about 130 pounds to help keep her within that navigational beacon. If Danielle can't accept who I am, then she needs to move on. The only thing that could go wrong in the relationship now is if Danielle were to try and withhold sex as leverage. If Danielle ever gave me an ultimatum of change or she's leaving, I'd say don't let the door hit you on your way out.
Well, that's charming. So, does this seem reasonable to you?
To me, it seems very reasonable. To me.
To you?
To me.
Uh-huh. Do you think a woman with reasonable self-esteem and reasonable self-worth would take an unbalanced relationship like that and consider it to be okay, acceptable?
I do not. It's usually just a matter of time before they figure that out.
Before they figure what out?
Before they figure out that this is not normal.
Yeah.
That this guy's definitely not like I thought.
So you think you're abnormal?
Absolutely.
How would you describe that abnormality?
Well, I've looked up some things. I've talked to many counselors. A lot of them throw their hands up. You know, they get a little bit intimidated by, you know, and I'm a long talk. I'll talk for long, you know, periods of time, and I don't think I've hung in with one long enough for them to point a finger at me and call me anything or write anything down that I've caught wind of.
I'm saying, what do you think?
There's been many a times I've caught people a certain way where they can't really socialize with me because they're intimidated by the way I look at the world. It's not, you know, and then you see the way they are, you read people's thoughts, you see the way they look at you, and you start to decide that maybe you're just not like other people. But I still have a pulse, I have children. It's a matter of sailing the ship, knowing that the mast and the sails are tattered, and just doing the best you can with what you can. Mm-hmm. So I believe I have good intentions, but it's not as easy as trying to stifle all these problems.
Well, I've got some questions for you.
Yes.
And I'm going to do my best to not be intimidated by you.
Sure.
I'm gonna hang in there as best I can.
All right.
Does any of this bother you?
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like it does.
Of course it's hurtful.
Do you feel like you're superior to her?
Yes.
In what ways? I mean, just across the board, or?
Yes.
I wrote down some of your statements. You said, I am oppositional, defiant, and I bend to no one. I refuse to meet anyone in the middle. My message to Danielle is stay with me or leave me, but don't expect me to change.
Right. the way I look at things is if I want to stay the way I am and be original and not live a life that I regret, I need to stay with the thoughts that are coming through my mind.
You say, I will not chase people down in an attempt to make them happy.
Right.
Once I've reached a point where I know I can't win, I will just destroy everyone and everything around me.
I have said that. And I'm not proud to admit it, but I really believe that life is too short. And in which sense, you know, there's always more to obtain. Holding my anger together is something I've never been able to master. I just can't figure it out all the time. There are times where I can turn and walk away. There are times where it's just way too hard. And it seems like for the more I realize that she's interested in staying with me, the more I sometimes have to tap dance to make her understand that I care. I feel, looking back at it, it's a horrible behavior to have learned, but unlearning it in the relationship is easier said than done.
Well, of course it is, but that doesn't mean it's not worthwhile. Like, you break stuff, right?
Sure.
How do you feel afterwards? Like with this chair up here, you see the picture of the chair. Well, you walk by that chair afterwards that you've broken in anger. How do you feel when you walk by that chair afterwards?
Oh, God.
It's a chair, it's 50 years old. It's a family heirloom, 50 years old.
Do you want me to be honest?
Yeah.
I can't look at it and care. I think to myself, that was an argument, it was a thing of the past, I've done it, and honestly, it's almost like a trophy of the way I just, have lashed out, and that it's like, the longer it sits in there and I look at it, sometimes the better I feel.
So this is just a trophy of my immaturity. This is just an emblem of my immaturity. I'm like, this is a 6-foot tantrum here.
Yep.
I'm 6 foot tall throwing tantrums.
Yep.
And this is a reminder of that.
Sometimes I look at it as basically like graffiti on the wall. No one owes me anything. I'm not asking people for help. But I broke a chair, I got a hole in the wall, and now I'm talking to one of the better therapists in the world in front of America. I think somebody read my graffiti.
Would you like to be in a relationship with you?
Yes. I got a feeling you
to see that.
Yeah, me too. Would you consider yourself someone that has empathy?
I feel like there's times I do and there's times I don't. What is it and who's asking? My thoughts shift so quick. I'm very easily distracted, so I could be so focused on one thing and then something pulls my attention away. It doesn't mean that I don't care about what's at hand. It means that I just stop paying attention. And it looks to a lot of people like I just don't care. But I can hear the hum of the lights and stuff like that, and I start to ask myself stupid questions, and then I just don't look like I'm caring about what they're talking about.
Do you think sometimes you babble?
Yeah. Talk to my teachers. Yes.
No, do you? Do you think sometimes you babble? You said you have trouble focusing
Well, hell
sometimes.
yeah, man. I'm back there drinking some coffee before I came out here. I can sit you all down and give you a nice lesson on how to be a piece of work.
Yeah. How much coffee did you drink? If you're in a relationship with a woman that you're having a child with, have you thought about marrying her?
Absolutely. It scares me. Once something goes wrong in it, it's a horrible thing, and I think it haunts a person that's been wrong. Like when I went through the.
So have you thought about marrying her?
Yes.
If he asked you, would you marry him?
No.
So why not?
Because I couldn't trap myself into a situation like this.
You're getting ready to have this baby, but you're not married. So, and Margaret, I see so many young women getting pregnant and not being married and staying in relationships sometimes for a long time. They're awfully vulnerable financially, right?
Absolutely. Whenever two parties are not married and they establish a household together, they should really consider doing a cohabitation agreement, or it's sometimes called a love contract. And this would ensure that in the event of a breakup, neither party is financially devastated.
So how does she protect herself?
If I were representing you, Danielle, at a minimum, I would want you to have an agreement that says in the event that there is a breakup, that you have X amount of time to stay in the home because it's owned by Ryan. I would also like to see you have perhaps a modest financial settlement in the event of a breakup so you can transition as gracefully as possible. And in the event that you don't break up, you have a great relationship, and Ryan dies, you need to have protections in place so that you and the baby would inherit the house, because without a marriage, it would go to his other relatives. So there are many different things that you can do to legally protect yourself.
Do you have a will?
No. No.
So, I mean, she would be totally out in the cold, right?
Absolutely.
I don't think he would leave me his house anyway. I don't think he would. Would you?
I'd rather put it on paper than have you left out without anything. I mean, she makes a point.
Yes, she does.
I mean,
We don't think about that stuff, and honestly, as time goes on, this whole thing, whether she stays or goes or I don't, I never weighed out the financial aspect. I guess I never looked at it through her lens, so it makes sense. It makes sense to me.
you know, you say you're not great at empathy, but you do want to think and plan ahead for the mother of your baby and your baby, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like she had mentioned, it's, it would be quite unfair for her not to get a piece of the assets if there's no reason she wouldn't get a fair amount. So it needs to be done, I would say. Yeah.
You have a very childlike way of approaching relationships, much like you would expect from someone in early adolescence. Kind of like, I want what I want when I want it, and I want it right now, and I want it my way, and that's just how it is. That's a very unevolved way of interacting with the world. And I strongly believe you teach people how to treat you. And you're just kind of like, yeah, I mean, he can call me those names, he can say whatever, and I just keep hanging in there. And if that's what it takes to stay in this relationship, the cost is too high. You ask me, should I stay? Should I go? If you have to stop being 100% of you to be half of this, the cost is too high. Because I don't think you want to be rude or insensitive to her or anybody else, but you've got to be willing to examine yourself and be willing to evolve some. Are you willing to give that a shot?
Yeah.
Okay, because I'll do it. I'll set it up. All right. Do you have a story or a question for me? Click the link in the description and tell me what in the world is going on.